If you are considering buying or selling some real estate in 2023, but you're a little bit uneasy as to what direction the market can go in, or is going to go in, I should say, this is going to be a good video for you to watch. We're going to kind of break down what it is that we do and what we follow each week on our listings to help us make the most accurate advice that we can for our clients. And then we're going to kind of look at some of the comparables of data that we send in our email each week. And we're actually going to compare the entire month so far, so month to date from this year to last year. So let's dive in, let's take a look, and let's take it from there. That was a lot of words to say. We're looking at this now. Sorry. But anyway, so the email that we send is pretty much a boilerplate template. In other words, the data that we're reviewing each week on each one of our listings is the same, right? We want to check the same data. And now every now and then, especially as the market is shifting, we're going to start putting more emphasis on other aspects of data. Like right now, one of the most important numbers that we can look at on our listings is the cumulative days on market. So the way we break this down is we see how long our listing has been on the market, and then we compare it to other active homes on the market. And then we compare it to, I don't know if he made it on there, but my husky's getting a little upset with me. But anyway, then we compare it to pending homes. And then if there are, this one looks like it didn't have any solds, but we want to know where we're at. And we want to know if we're sitting on the market longer than we should be. And looking at cumulative days on market is one of the tools that we can use that really helps. We don't do any of this shooting from the hip. We don't feel anything. We don't have a gut feeling. Those things don't exist. We try to use analytics and data to help you make the most informed decision you possibly can, whether it's on a listing or whether you're purchasing a home. So the second set of data that we look at is through the MLS. So if you're working with a real estate agent and they set you up on property notifications, a property portal, there's a bunch of different names for it, but basically if they put you and registered you on the MLS to receive property updates, if your client, so if another agent's client, their criteria matches one of my listings, it's going to show up for me on my listing. So for this particular listing, there was 372 people who were set up on a portal, 157 of which, so less than half, who actually viewed our specific listing. And then there was 5 people who favorited that property. 0 people had made it a possibility. It got sent out 380 times, and 371 agents also viewed that specific listing. And then the next data point that we look at is pending properties. Who went pending within the last week? Because we send this out weekly, because we want to know how we compare. So this property here would have been a comparable for our listing. I'm not going to disclose the listing. Not that there's anything ultra sensitive on here. It's just kind of irrelevant to the point. And then showing time data. This is where we track and can monitor how many showings we're getting on each one of our listings. So we had 0 for the week, and we didn't receive any feedback from prior showings that may have been even further out than a week. And then last but not least, this is not for us so much as it is for you, the consumer. We know how much people like to use Zillow, so we extract some of the data that they allow us to view about our own listings and the traffic they receive on their website. So we try to include that as well. So those are the data points that we use, and we track it from week to week. But as I said, the point of this video is we're going to look at some of those data points, and we're actually going to review how it's looked from the beginning of last year to year to date, which is the 25th of January. Calm down. She's not happy with me. I don't know why she's not happy with me, but it is what it is. So let's review some of the data. I did make this bulleted point. I don't know how the smaller numbers are going to show, so I'm going to discuss them, but you may not be able to see it. But the three big takeaways are over here on the left. So the first thing I want to mention is for last year, there was 807 closed transactions as of January 5th. Did I say that right? January 25th. As of 2023, oh, I mixed those up. This says, say, look, we're not perfect. This is actually 2023's numbers, and this is 2022's. Oops. So in 2023, so this year, we've closed out 489 as a market. So not me, not my team. This is the entire market. Now, one of the things I like to use as a comparison for each property to find out about cost and things like that is not actually the sold price, because 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, things like that, they're all a little bit different. So I use the price per square foot method when I'm having conversations like that. But last year, the price per square foot, we wrapped up around $124 a square foot. And this year, we're around $116 a square foot. So that's a 6% drop on average for the average sale price, if that made sense. So let's assume the average sales point was 100,000 last year. That means this year that same home would sell for about 94,000. So it's not a plummet, right? It's not a free fall here in property values, but we did have a little bit of a slide back from the same days from this year and last year. And then the other thing, as I mentioned with the email that we're really looking at, and this actually kind of shocked me, we're only tracking about 4 days more as far as days on market. Now, I think that's probably trending up. I'll probably do another one of these by the end of February, or as we get towards the end of February, and I'll start tracking how it looked as the year progresses, and we'll see if we're progressively getting worse, or if the market's stabilizing, or if it's getting better. I think I said all three, but if not, I think you still know what I mean. So the big things here, transactions, so the amount of homes that have sold were down by almost 40%. So that's a huge drop in inventory. And that's the correlation between I should have, I just now thought of it, I should have done interest rates, but we're probably somewhere around 2 to 3% higher on interest rates if you were to compare year to year. But the reason why we're not seeing such a huge drop in overall prices, we've only got a 6% drop here in our market, I believe, is because of that 40% reduction in units that have sold. If we would have sold another 807 from Jan 1 to Jan 25 of this year, I think we would have seen substantially lower prices when it comes to final sale points. So just because it was more expensive to buy a similar priced home this year from last year, I think what's retained the values is the fact that inventory is limited. So there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, you know, there's going to be a market crash and I'm just sitting on the sidelines and I'm waiting for that right prime opportunity from when the rug gets pulled from underneath all of this, and it's going to be a free for all, and I'm going to be able to pick up properties for pennies on the dollar. If it doesn't happen, because I don't have a crystal ball, but if inventory stays low and buyer demand just stays consistent, we don't need it to increase, but if buyer demand stays consistent, I don't think that drop's coming. So whoever's waiting on the sidelines, you're going to be waiting a really long time. You've already been waiting a long time. You know, it's like those are the same people who were waiting last year for the rates to go up, which they have, and values still haven't plummeted. So it's hold on, my dog's eating something. I don't know why I like huskies. Anyway, the point I was trying to make here is what appears to be happening is we're having a reduction in inventory, which was already low. So the reduced inventory is what kind of created this inflationary aspect on housing prices. There was limited inventory, rates were cheap, and people were buying. Demand was so high that prices kept going up. But, and I don't think a lot of people anticipated this, buyer demand hasn't relented as much, and sellers aren't listing as much. One thing I didn't put on here was the average new, I don't think I did. I did. Okay. So we are averaging about 20 new listings a day. And around this time last year, we were averaging around 100 a day. So to try to wrap this all back together, what's the point of this? What's the point of comparing last year to this year? The reason why I wanted to have this conversation was actually because I don't know on how many of my last few listings I have gotten the phone call, hey, Jonas, your house has been on the market a little while. We're going to be submitting an offer, but it's going to be 10 grand or 20 grand below the list price. We're going to be asking for everything. It's not that strong of a buyer's market. If anything, we've reached equilibrium. Yeah, you're going to get some buyer or seller paid concessions. In other words, you're going to get the seller to be able to cover some of your closing cost, but it's not going to be like that on every property. There are still certain properties and certain price points depending in the market. In other words, the city, the municipality, that's going to kind of drive demand. You might have a really good property sit for a little bit, but you may have another great property in another city at the right price point that's going to go pending that day. I have it all. I have properties going pending after a month, 2 months, 3 months. I have properties going pending in a week. I have properties going pending in a day. This does not feel like a buyer's market. I think we're just reaching equilibrium. It's a balanced market. And one of the things that I think may help that and may keep the market pushing this way throughout the year is if recent reports are correct and interest rates stay similar or soften up just a bit, I think that's going to be enough to help buyers out and make them feel comfortable with their payments. And then if we don't get a huge uptick in inventory, in other words, people listing their houses, oh my gosh. Ridiculous. Chewing up 2, or was that 3 of my things, while her chew toys are right next to him. So, where was I at? I had to deal with the dog, but I'm pretty sure what I was trying to say was if rates continue to go down, if inventory stays low, I think we still keep a similar market to what we're experiencing now, which is not going to push pricing down further. It's not going to allow sellers to capitalize on multiple offers. It's going to be very, very much an equilibrium type of market. Now, I've also heard the Fed plans on making 2 additional increases to the Fed fund rate. If they do that, who knows if rates go back up. If they do, I think that will really start pushing us down to the 10, 15, possibly 20% losses. It would just depend where interest rates are at and what kind of demand could be kept. I mean, if inventory, and I don't know how much lower you can get than 20 new listings a day. I mean, when I say that, I'm talking about the entire market. I'm not talking about just Beaver Creek or Springfield or Tip City. I'm talking about all of these areas. 20 a day. That's not a lot. It's almost less than 1 a city. So I don't know how much less we can handle as far as inventory. But real estate still is happening. Buyers are getting deals. Sellers are netting what they're hoping for. It's a very balanced market, you know, depending on the quality of your home will depend how well it's going to fare against the competition. So that's just a kind of quick ramble, if you will, on where I think the market is. And we will keep track and see where the market is heading. And like I said, I think I may do one of these at the end of each month or as we get towards the end of each month, and just see if the market's improving, worsening, or staying the same. As always, I'm Jonas Hubbard, Streetlight Realty. You are watching the Miami Valley Experience. If there's anything that we can do for you, feel free to drop a comment, email us, reach out to us any way you'd like. You can find my contact info at the MiamiValleyExperience.com or on our real estate website, which is StreetlightRealtors.com. Thanks and have a great day.